Free Japan Channel number 194. Today, May 4th, Monday, 2026. The time is 9 a.m. Good morning, everybody. This morning's topic of FGC is Charles III visited the US. This is the topic of this morning. Now, Charles III is reigning the United Kingdom. He is the king of UK. And Charles III visited Washington, D.C. and delivered speech in the US Congress. There were so many standing ovations in his speech. I heard his speech and it was very impressive and very interesting. Therefore, today's topic is Charles III's visit and his speech in Washington, D.C. Charles III is a king of England, but not only England, but also of Scotland, Wales, and North Ireland. He is a member of royal family. His mother is late Elizabeth II, and Elizabeth II reigned the UK for such a long time that it is only 3 or 4 years since the Charles III got the throne of England. We Japanese know Charles III from the news of late Diana. And many Japanese people are sympathetic with Mrs. Diana. Therefore, we Japanese don't have empathy, sympathy toward Charles III. Charles III and his spouse, Mrs. Camilla, were the people, seemed to be the people for Japanese people to expel Mrs. Diana from Buckingham Palace or from royal family. However, this time, Charles III's speech was so interesting and so instructive because he talked about history in his address. The impression toward him from Japanese people has a bit changed, I suppose, by the speech of this time. Of course, Charles III didn't deliver the speech for Japanese audience, but for us, Japanese people, it was very instructive and impressive, sometimes moving. Talking about the bilateral relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom, the British king said that the bond between two countries is unbreakable, inseparable. Of course, there were sometimes conflicts between them, but in general, these two countries helped each other. Thanks to this mutual relationship and mutual collaboration, Charles III could come to Washington, D.C. with relief and with pride and with gratitude. The United States declared its independence in 1776 from the United Kingdom. Of course, this independence of the United States was very inconvenient to the UK. Therefore, there were some battles between two countries, and the Americans won the war against the United Kingdom. Not only at the time of independence, but also in 19th century. At the beginning of 19th century, there were also some conflicts between two countries, and every time the conflict arose, American side won. Therefore, American people could keep their independence throughout the century, 19th century. In the 20th century, America became the superpower of the world, and in World War II, 1944, America helped England, or not only England, but also Europe, to fight against Nazi Germany. This time, Charles III said that it was the crucial time for the UK, 1944, and General Eisenhower, the commander of the Allied countries, helped the war effort of the United Kingdom. So this means Normandy operation, and they won the World War II. They got the hegemony of Europe again. And freedom, democracy, are the principle of two countries, Charles III reiterated this time. Freedom and democracy was taught to American people from English people. Of course, he can say so legitimately. In 1688, so-called revolution with no blood occurred in England, and James II was expelled from the throne, and William III and Mary II came from Dutchland to England to reign the country. And in 1689, so the following year, the revolution was guaranteed by the Declaration of Rights, so-called Declaration of Rights. Not only this 17th century revolution with no blood, but also the democracy of the UK dates back to 13th century Magna Carta. Charles III mentioned this great charter. So this history of democracy, the king is limited. The power of a king should be limited by the Congress, Parliament, or by the will of the people. So this history runs through British history, and this doctrine is also handed down to American descendants, according to Charles III. Therefore, it was British people, according to him, who taught freedom and democracy to American people. Therefore, Mr. Trump said that if Americans had not helped in Normandy, German language would be now spoken throughout Europe. So said Mr. Trump. And this time, Charles III refuted that if British people hadn't helped American people in the 17th and 18th century or 19th century, American people would now speak French language. It was a kind of joke, so everyone was laughing in the Congress. This way, Charles III's speech was full of jokes, which was totally alien to Japanese royal family or Japanese imperial family. Japan has also long history of imperial family. In this sense, Japan and the United Kingdom can understand each other. However, the nature of royal family is totally different between Japan and the UK. As is obvious with Charles II's speech this time, royal family members of the United Kingdom can say jokes so many times and can appear so friendly and very acquainted with people. However, when it comes to Japanese imperial family, the story is different. The members cannot say jokes at all. We Japanese people have never heard some kind of jokes from imperial members. No, we haven't. And to some degree, imperial members are far away from Japanese people. We cannot get near to them. Of course, we can't. We shouldn't. But this time, Charles III induced so many laughters in his speech, not only in the Congress, but also in dinner speech. And it was very impressive and very instructive for Japanese audience. And we are so keenly aware that there was some difference between two royal families. Charles III emphasized the legitimacy of Ukraine war, which already continued for more than 4 years. America and England now fighting against Russia because Russia is now dictatorship. Of course, Charles III didn't employ the word dictator or dictatorship or tyrant, no. But what he was saying was that Russia is tyranny or tyranny country against which UK and US and whole Europe are now fighting. And this war is righteous according to him. So in this war collaboration, the UK and US can help each other. And in the Middle East, now Iran war is going on. And Charles III is also on the side of Mr. Trump, President Trump. So Charles III said that this turmoil of the Middle East should be resolved from the perspective of freedom and democracy. Charles III can say from the position of royal member, he is not a secular person. Because he is not a secular person, he can say something which no other secular influential people can say or can do. This is the meaning of royal family, don't you think so? Here in Japan, there are so many influential politicians, or there are so many influential economic people. However, at the crucial moment, for example, big earthquake or big tsunami moment, it is emperor. After all, it is emperor who comes to the TV and address whole people. No other person, no other people can do that. Only emperor can play that role. So once in 50 years, or sometimes once in 100 years. So it is okay. Once in 100 years, for this one time, Japanese emperor as well as British kings exist. Charles III's speech in the United States was successful, in my opinion. And Japanese audience also feel very near, much nearer to him, obliterating the dark memory of accident of Mrs. Diana. Now we are looking forward to seeing Charles III here in Japan or in Tokyo. Both countries, UK and Japan, have royal family system. Therefore, why not next in Japan?